So this is a lawn that I had gotten pretty much across the street from the house that I already landscaped. The grass was 3 feet tall. I kept trying to get this job, and eventually I did get it. I gave the guy a fair price. The front yard looked very, very tall, as you can tell, but it was in no comparison to the backyard. The backyard is just completely way worse. Ridiculously high. I don't do many yards that are this overgrown, but it's not surprising to see this yard this overgrown. And this is a really nice house, actually, so it is surprising for this house in particular, but not surprising in the neighborhood in which I live in. A lot of yards look like this. But anyway, I started out by weed whacking the whole perimeter of the front yard, all around everywhere. Obviously, when the lawn goes for too long like this, you get weeds growing in every crevice possible. And after I did that, I started with the lawn mowing. I had to keep the chute open because the grass was so tall, it kept clogging the lawnmower. And normally I'll just raise it up to whatever level I see fit. This lawn, I had to raise it up to the highest level, which is a 6 click, which I think is 4 inches, and that still wasn't sufficient. So I had to put the chute on the side, and even with the chute on the side, I still had to go really slow because it was just simply too tall for this CC of lawnmower. I'm not sure exactly what CC this lawnmower is, but it's a Cub Cadet self-propel front wheel propel, actually. It's a strong lawnmower. It's a good lawnmower. I love it. I have a Honda as well. I haven't even taken it out the box yet. But I had to go over this yard, the front yard. I had to go over it three times. I started out with a number 6, the chute open, and then I dropped it down to a number 5. Then I dropped it down to a final cut number 4. Also wanted to keep going over it because with the chute open, it was leaving the grass in the front lawn, as you can tell. And in certain spots, I went forward and then pulled the lawnmower in reverse on that same strip of lawn. I would go forward, then pull it backward. I try to keep the grass in one area, and then eventually I put the bag on the lawnmower, but that seemed to not work at all. As soon as I put the bag on, it filled up instantly. And then, actually, it didn't even fill up all the way. It filled up a little bit, and then it was really just getting clogged. It was better with the chute. So once I got the lawn to where I thought it was pretty much good enough to advance, I just went around the weed whacker one more time because the first time that I went around, I got the bulk of it down, but there was still some, I guess, tall grass here and there that once I cut the lawn down to the 4th click on the lawnmower, I was able to see some more areas that needed to be hit again with the weed whacker. Like I said, this lawn was so tall. Most of the areas I had to go over 2 to 3 times for each area. What else? Anyway, so I just kept chucking away, cutting down, cleaning up. Finally, I got to the backyard, and oh my God, the backyard was just insanity. In the backyard, I had to actually incorporate a new method of cutting grass, which I never had to do before. First off, I found this hose buried deep down in the grass. Couldn't even really see it, but once I spotted it, I had to play tug of war for a little while. And a little while after that, when I started cutting in the backyard with the lawnmower, there was a rake completely buried. You couldn't see this thing at all. All of a sudden, as I was walking, I hit something really hard. So I shut the lawnmower off, and there was a metal rake, a whole metal rake underneath the grass, just completely buried. Back here, the grass was so tall, the length of the blades of the grass were clogging up the weed whacker. The weed whacker's spinning so fast, and the grass is so tall that when I finally chopped it really low to the ground, the long pieces of grass kept getting wrapped up around the weed whacker head. And when I was trying to remove the grass, the weed whacker head was burning hot. So the friction of the grass getting stuck, and I must have been at this job for about almost 3 hours. And I was not expecting it to be this difficult. I mean, overall, I got the job done. And I always do the jobs by myself. Very rarely do I ever take help. But like I said, I charged a fair amount of money for this job, especially because of the length of the grass and the duration of time that was in between the last cut. Anyway, the new method I had to incorporate into this yard was I had to raise the lawnmower to the highest setting. Then I would tilt the lawnmower backwards, lift the front wheels up off the ground, and with the blade on an angle now, push the lawnmower forward. Because the grass was so tall, I could not just advance normally, even on the highest click and with the chute open, and the grass being relatively dry. It was still clogging the machine up because the grass was just so tall. Even after I cut it down with the weed whacker first and going over with the lawnmower second, it didn't matter. The grass was just so thick and full. It would just simply not allow me to just run it over. I had to chop it down with the weed whacker, raise it to the highest setting, tilt the lawnmower up on an angle, and advance that way. But my machine's a front wheel drive, so when I lift it up on an angle, I have to push with just the strength of my body to carry the lawnmower along, because the self-propellers in the front wheels, so those were in the air at the time. I ended up finding a possum underneath the tarp that you see in the video about a minute ago. There was a possum underneath that tarp and scared the crap out of me. I thought it was a mouse, but evidently it was a baby possum. And I just kept whacking away at all these weeds in the tall grass. I just kept whacking. And eventually this job was complete. And the guy actually gave me a really nice tip. And he actually offered me another job as well, hanging some sheetrock in his basement. So it worked out well. So I'm not sure if I introduced myself, actually. My name is Danny. I hang sheetrock for a living, and I do landscaping on the side, but I've been doing landscaping for, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. I just started recently doing it full-time due to the coronavirus. I stopped hanging sheetrock, I didn't stop hanging sheetrock. Sheetrock was no longer able to hang sheetrock because of the COVID-19. So I needed money. I had to start cutting grass to make ends meet, and now I got a couple lawns that I do on a regular basis, but not too many. But I'm trying to start my own business pretty much. I printed out a couple shirts, printed out some cards, and yeah. So this lawn was actually a tough lawn. I ended up getting it done in one day. It took me about 3 hours. Wasn't that bad. I recorded it, which was a little odd. I'm not a professional at recording these videos. I try to record jobs every now and then, but it's difficult to do it while you're trying to work at the same time. And I also want to post them on the internet so people will watch them and hopefully like them and subscribe to my channel and all that good stuff and get me some recognition. I'm not sure what I want out of it. I just want people to see what I do and comment and see if they do the same thing. Maybe give me some ideas or some tips or whatever. Maybe they can be a critic or criticize my work. Maybe tell me to do it differently, or really it doesn't bother me either way. But some input is better than no input, I guess. Like I said, my name is Danny. I'm starting a little business I call Stark Landscaping. I hope you guys like it, man. Thanks for watching. And like I said, this was a new customer for me. Wanted to make the job look very, very clean. And even if I would have left the grass, the clippings on the property, which I wouldn't normally ever do that, but even if I did, it still would have looked 10 times better in comparison to what the yard looked like when I first arrived. Like I said, I could not believe how tall the grass was. I don't know how they didn't get a fine for the grass being so tall. And this is actually, it's in my neighborhood, but it's actually in the nice part of the neighborhood. So the houses around this house are, I mean, in comparison to closer to where I live, are very, it's a nice little community over here. So I'm not sure how they didn't get a fine.